We are recording and ready.
All right, let's go ahead and get our meeting started for March 17th. Start time is 5:32. Um, Fabio, if you or someone that's in the room could read the land acknowledgement.
That's right. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards of our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. A land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced Indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and Indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bowman. I appreciate you reading that. Uh, Now, I hope everybody had a chance to review the agenda and meeting minutes. I did. We will go ahead and do I have a second to approve the agenda and meeting minutes?
Chair,
Yes.
sorry. We did get a request for a change in the minutes. Commissioner Baldwin, she joined the meeting a little bit late last month.
Well,
So in the draft that we shared with you all, it included her votes on the first two items, and she wasn't at the meeting for those votes. So it's amended to remove her name as a voting yes and make it as absent for those two first votes.
okay, yeah, I see it on there. Okay. So do you have a second for the amendments and corrections to the minutes and agenda?
I'll second with amendments.
Mm. All those in favor of all those in favor of approving the agenda and meeting minutes, uh, say aye.
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 Does anybody oppose or abstain? All right.
I'll
Minute-
abstain on the minutes if that's okay, since I wasn't on the commission at the time.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Tria. Thank you. All right. So Fabio, were you able to record that? One abstain?
Yes.
Okay, next week, next item on the agenda list is HRC leadership and commissioner updates. Do we have any of our commissioners that have any updates or anything they would like to share or talk about since our last meeting?
I got a message from someone who is concerned about the possibility of a fence being built around the federal building. And how it has to be approved by city council because it will impede the public right of way. And I would like to address that and maybe suggest we write a recommendation to city council to not do that. It doesn't seem like the correct course of action for me in any way. And so I just said that I would bring that forth for you all and make you aware of it so we can decide if that's something that we can want to do.
Should we add that to the agenda for tonight?
I can share some information that perhaps we can help the commission understand the issue. We have seen some messages coming up to council. Usually when someone is going to make changes to an existing building, they would apply for a permit. I don't believe it is possible to put a fence on the right of way. So the fence would be in the property that doesn't include the sidewalks or the street or any of the space that will be open to the public, and that would be approved by the planning department. So that usually doesn't go to city council, it goes through the planning department. So staff would be evaluating the project and approving the construction. So I can ask if there is information that can be shared at this time and forward it to our commissioners.
I have a few things if no one else does.
Yes, Commissioner Poindexter?
Thank you. Flavio had sent recently a link to the last 2 hours of a United Nations conference on rights at the local level. And I just wanted to urge people, when you get a couple of hours, to view that summary, because it really, to me, carries forward the premises that we have been working on and talking about, such as human rights must begin at the local level, because that's where most people access their rights or not. And that human rights are reflected in budgeting decisions. There was actually a conference on budgeting, that how we spend our money reflects our values. And they also speak a lot about developing priorities through participation of vulnerable communities, which is, I think, of interest to us very much. And lastly, one of the speakers reminded me of something that Dr. Booker often says. The speaker was talking about human rights not being abstract at all, but are operationalized, quote, for everyone, every day, everywhere. So I really wanted to share that we are on the same page as the United Nations for sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Poindexter, for sharing that. And I definitely share your sentiments. I definitely will be viewing it as soon as I have some time. But thank you for bringing that to our attention and making us aware that we need to be paying attention to that. Any other commissioners have any updates
I'm not a commissioner.
I was going to say commissioner.
Yes, I know. I know you're getting stuff. I apologize. I know this is not my place, but I did want to maybe ask some commissioners to talk about Disorient Film Festival, as well as Thursday's big event that I hope all commissioners can attend.
Yes. If you don't, do you mind me speaking on it?
Go for it. Not at all.
Or Commissioner Murthy, you were there as well, right?
Yes, Chair, I was there.
Okay, yeah, because you had a conversation. Did you want to share anything before I speak on it, or because I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to speak?
I haven't. What I primarily like is this, the theme around community, which I really enjoyed. And also, I didn't go to the film festival because I had my own things to do on the weekend. This was my first time, and the fact of the label itself, Disorient, I'm like, what does this mean? It's sort of got like a number of contexts. So I was thinking through, and the Oriental sort of notation that comes with being Asian, Southeast Asian. I think that was sort of like the disorient for me stood out, and as of also the different diversity that exists within the Asian community also came up for me, and the type of music and the type of there was this music festival somewhere towards the end, and the boy that was performing was talking about his life from the Philippines. I mean, all that was sort of like that focus and in place and time was very meaningful for me. So I was there for the reception, helping City of Eugene staff to help them out. And it was such a pleasure. It's such a humbling learning experience every time. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. That was great. I'll quickly share my experience. I think it was very eye-opening to me, very warming environment to me. Um, and I'm glad that I was invited to see that and experience that. I think anytime multiple cultures can come together and celebrate one another in unity like that is powerful. Um, the Asian and Pacific Islander communities were able to bridge something that I wish we could see across multiple facets of different communities. And the fact that they were able to put together such a powerful and moving program it was very eye opening to me. But I'm glad I got to experience that. I'm glad I was invited to experience that. I would have liked to see more publicity for them. I didn't see any news stations there. I didn't like KVAL or KZ. I didn't see anybody covering it on the news, which was disappointing. I think it was a moment where that could have been highlighted in our community and fostered and celebrated. I think our community missed the mark on that in terms of media coverage and showing that unity and diversity in our community. But it was very inspirational to me. There's a lot that could be learned from that festival. I look forward to supporting it in the future, and I'm glad that I was able to be a part of that. So it was phenomenal. All the performances, the messaging through the dances, the language, the food was amazing. But yeah, I love to see that cultural togetherness and support from one another, and it's very inspiring. So I'm glad I got to be a part of that.
Chair,
Yes.
I didn't include it in the agenda, but I imagine we'll address it at the leadership updates. We have a new commissioner joining us today for the first time.
Oh yes, Commissioner Ward. Yes, congratulations on your selection and welcome. I want to give you an opportunity to speak, just to kind of introduce yourself and to the world of Eugene, and everybody watching, and our fellow commissioners. If you want to talk about yourself a little bit and kind of share who you are.
Sure. My name's Tria. I've lived here in Eugene for about 5 years now. I moved here in 2021. Wonderful time to buy a house right during COVID. Um, I moved here from Central California. I work in the software industry. I am involved in a couple of different nonprofits. Absolutely love volunteering. You know, I am on the board of directors for Transponder. I've been volunteering with Burrito Brigade. I previously was a master gardener. Um, and I enjoy playing a very, I wouldn't say obscure, but very old board game called Go.
Well, thank you for telling us about yourself. And uh, you said the software industry, right?
Yes, I work as a software engineer for a small game studio at Microsoft.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm former
Yeah,
IT.
it's fun.
Yeah,
We have a
former.
new game coming out next week.
I look I look forward to seeing what that is. So yeah, we have that in common. But yeah, welcome to the commission. I look forward to working with you. I've heard nothing but great things about you, and pleased to work with you and seeing what ideas and policies we can change and things we can work together to progress Eugene together. So thank you for volunteering. Thank you for being selected and being a part of our commission. Was there any other commissioners who would like to speak or say anything welcoming Commissioner Ward?
I'm super excited. I've loved working with you on all the things that we've done, and I'm really stoked to continue to do that on more things.
Yes, Commissioner Ward, I have spoken many times about how hard you've worked on the WeCU work group, and I really am glad you're here.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Ward, I'm inspired by your energy. Everything you do, you put so much enthusiasm and, passion. It's very, very inspiring. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything? Any other commissioners? Okay. Well, just thank you, Commissioner Ward, for being here and introducing yourself. And yeah, we're gonna get to work right away. Before we move on, were there any other commissioners that wanted to speak or give any updates or anything that they've been working on or been a part of? Okay. One thing I did want to just myself bring up was I wanted to address something we talked about in the last meeting as I was reading through was I was reviewing the last meeting minutes, was we had a discussion about a house that had a swastika symbol on it. And I did a little digging, and there was a statement about it being up in the 1920s, and them not knowing that symbol represented that. And I found out that wasn't true. World War I happened in 1919, and that was when that symbol was used. So that symbol was used during World War I. So that was before the 1920s. So given that fact, I do think that a letter or a conversation needs to be had with City Council to hear how they feel or what actions can be taken to address this. I do think it should be removed, and if it wants to be preserved for historical reasons, it should be in a museum. I don't think having it out on display for people to see as though it's a trophy or a proud symbolism of building structure is acceptable. So I would like to see us propose a letter or some sort to City Council of action or conversation taking place around this particular structure, given the fact that symbol did represent that prior to the 1920s. So I do believe that it was put there purposely, especially given the history and the of racism in Eugene and the structure and the creation and involvement of the KKK and the historical significance that they played in Eugene. I do think that more conversation should be had around that. So I would propose that we get City Council involved in this, and this conversation should be elevated. But I would like to hear if any other commissioners have anything to say.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I thought about it earlier and forgot to write it in my notes. I also was hoping we could bring that back up and address it. And if there's any, I don't know, recourse, if we're able to do that, if there's anything that we can do, I would like to do it. I don't think that it is something that I'd like to say that we didn't address in any way that we could, even if there's nothing that can be legally done about it. I would at least like it noted that we said something, did something, cared enough to try. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you for saying that. Anyone else?
Chair, I can share some updates. I had a conversation with a member of the Jewish Federation yesterday. It was the person who first brought that issue to our attention. And there was some information previously indicating that the swastika had been removed, but that wasn't the case. So they called us yesterday to say that it was still there and visible. They understand the offers that we made to have it removed through the usage of funds that we have available for neighborhood associations. It's called the Matching Grants Fund. So we made those available. If the property owners would like to remove it, like the neighbors could get engaged and we could sponsor the removal of that structure. But the property owners have declined. So the Jewish Federation members may try to connect with some neighbors that they know that are also Jewish in that region and see if they have a conversation. But I'm not sure if any immediate action will be happening, but they are keeping us informed.
And I would like to, if you could, Fabio, extend an invitation to the Jewish Federation to come and speak with us. I would like to hear from them, avenues or steps that they are taking and how they would like us as the representative of all cultures and communities throughout Eugene to address this going forward and what they would like to see us do and just discuss our position and what we can and can't do with them. So if it's possible, I would like to invite them to come and speak with us. Is that something we can do?
Yes, and yesterday I also talked to them about the possibility of a program through the City Club of Eugene. I discussed that with City Club a few weeks ago, and the members voted in favor of having a broader conversation about this kind of situation. When something changes in meaning and becomes a hateful symbol, what can be done? And that could be an interesting conversation to involve more people in the community.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I definitely think it should be involving more people in the community because the more I dug, the more frustrated I got with the whole situation. But yeah, it definitely that symbol was definitely created before the 1920s, and it was used during World War One that the Germans lost. But you know, it's a lot of history behind all that. I can't really dive into right now. But yes, thank you, Fabio. I look forward to Commissioner Bradley.
So I don't know what reference you're referring to, Dr. Booker, about use of the swastika. It is generally my understanding and training is that it's a symbol that was co-opted, used by the Third Reich, which was post World War One. There are actually U.S. military units that used the swastika because prior to that, not only was it used in Eastern traditions, but it was used in the West as a symbol of good luck prior to the 1930s. I'm obviously not in favor of using hate symbols in architecture. However, I do think opening a conversation with the homeowners specifically might be productive. Though I know that city staff have already had some of these conversations, and the Jewish Federation also has. The possibility exists that a conversation from us might be helpful. I don't know how helpful a letter condemning landowners is likely to be, but I do think that having a conversation with them is likely to be productive.
Yeah, I agree with you that we definitely should have a conversation with them, and I will extend the invitation to them as well if they would like to come and speak with us concerning their reasoning behind wanting to preserve it or deny the request to remove it. So we can extend Fabio, if you don't mind, we can extend the welcome to them as well if they would like to come. But we'll extend it definitely to the Jewish Federation and then to the homeowners as well if they would like to come and speak with us at our next meeting. Commissioner Ward?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a strange one to me. I just wanted to piggyback off of what was just said, what John had just said. Well, I say piggyback, add to what was just said. It's worth noting, and in saying this, I'm not attempting to advocate for one action or another. I'm not attempting to advocate for non-action. I'm simply observing a little bit of history here. The swastika does have a very long history that goes way, way, way far back, well before Nazi Germany co-opted it. There are a number of Dharmic religions in which that symbol is very meaningful. There's, in fact, a religion that known as Jainism, for which that symbol is very meaningful. It's also worth noting that there are a number of native tribes that have had a swastika-like symbol. Looks very similar. I don't know that we can really call it a swastika because I think it has a very different meaning and arise from a very different history. But they have a swastika-looking symbol known as whirling logs. Again, just surfacing the fact that there could be a number of explanations here. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I did share that too. I'm glad you brought that up. I did share that too about the symbol of going back ancient years and different cultures using it. Unfortunately, we live in a society where the villain always gets to tell the story. Nobody remembers the victims. Nobody remembers the heroes. It's always the villains that unfortunately get the limelight when it comes to history, and that's just the way that our history in America has been transformed, rewritten, and manipulated in a lot of ways, right? So, the reason why we don't remember the victims of Columbus, but yet we celebrate Columbus, right? So nobody remembers the victims. So we have to look at the symbol as our society has known it to be and what it has become to be used for. And unfortunately, there's 6 million bodies behind that symbol. And if the people in that house were of the cultures that you're speaking of or had some lineage, then I could see, us having that conversation, putting that in documentation and saying, this is why, but unfortunately, I don't think that the people that live there represent that culture or that history or that lineage that symbol represents in terms of the positivity that it was before it became adopted for the wrong reasons. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on some of the points you made. But unfortunately, we have to look at how our history always tells, how our history is presented to us and how it's taught in schools. And unfortunately, it's not taught the correct way. So we have to go with what we know that to be. And unfortunately, it's a lot of bodies and a lot of genocide behind that symbol. So that's just my stance on how I feel about it. I do agree with Commissioner Bradley that give the homeowners an opportunity to come and speak with us if they want to accept that. If not, then we have to go along with, our conversation as a committee and how we feel about it as a commission, sorry. But that's just how I, my part on it. And I definitely understand where you're coming from, Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Murphy.
I wanted to bring up the Thursday event, Day Without Immigrants at the Farmers Market Pavilion. And I was asked by Melissa to remind the commission about it. And so I just brought it up. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was just about to, thank you. Yes. This Thursday, please tell family, friends, anybody in your community, in your social circle, on your Facebook friends list. Melissa has done an exceptional amount of work to make this happen. And I can't even put it into words how much she's done to orchestrate this. And we definitely owe it to her as commissioners to show up and to promote this and to make sure that this event is successful. I look forward to it. I'll be co-hosting with our lovely vice chair. She'll be there with us. So I look forward to co-hosting with her. This is a wonderful panel. This is a celebration of International Human Rights Day. And given that this is right up our wheelhouse, it would be good if we could show up in numbers. If you're available to show up this Thursday, please do. And hear the discussion, bring your questions and your ideas. We got 6 remarkable people that different variants of knowledge, different experiences, but all contribute to our Eugene culture and community. So I couldn't be happier and more excited for this. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy, for bringing that up. Are there any other commissioners that would like to say anything or address anything or even speak on this Thursday's event?
It's 5:30 to 7:30 at the Farmers Market Pavilion. There's also gonna be folks tabling, there will be food, so if you're food motivated, there will be food. And you can share the event, I think we all have an image in our email, but also Cultural Services put it on their Facebook page, so you're able to share it there.
Set up at 4.
Set up at 4 if you're available.
And they have nice restrooms and ceiling fans. Thank you all, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys Thursday if you're able to make it. I'll be there bright early and bushy-tailed. Look forward to it. All right. If we have no more commissioner updates or input, we'll move on to the next item. Anybody else? All right. Well, at this point, we're supposed to have Mayor. The mayor. Hold on.
Hi, Chair Booker. I'm
Am
here.
I reading that right?
You are. It's Mayor Knudsen. It's nice to
Okay.
see you.
There you go. Okay.
I just popped up a little bit ago onto your screen, so you might not have seen me if it was set in a different format.
Okay. And it's Mayor Knudsen.
Mayor Karin Knudsen. Thank you for asking.
Knudsen. Yes, I don't want to pronounce your name. I would just say Mayor Karen because I don't want to never.
I won't help either. I'm continually fighting the battle for correct pronunciation of both names, but and sometimes I think our TV news is the least helpful in that way. But it's really nice to be here with you all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And there were some things you wanted to share or address with us as a commission. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Booker, and thank you to all of our commissioners for the opportunity to share some news with you today and listening to the conversation that you've been having in your commissioner updates. There's a lot of connective tissue between this work and what felt important to come to HRC and share and the work that's happening in our community right now. I want to share also that part of this work is why I wasn't able to see the Human Rights Commission work plan update in person at City Council in late February because I was traveling to do this work. But thank you for all of your ongoing efforts and the extent of this volunteer capacity. It's really important to our community, but it also is work that you all contribute on a daily and weekly basis, and it is very much appreciated. I'll just say very briefly, I agree. The Disorient Film Festival, absolutely incredible, an amazing community event. A lot of people don't realize the largest independent film festival in Oregon, and people come to Eugene from all over the world to see those films and see the premieres of some of those films that happen. It's a really beautiful event, and I hope that some of the energy from that film going and community experience carries right over to this Thursday's event with the Undocumented Lawyer film at the Pavilion and the panel discussion that's going to follow. I'm looking forward to that. But what I wanted to just share with you all and be sure to take a moment to emphasize, because I do think it is important work, are 2 recent touch points that I've had with your mayor as that relates directly to international human rights work and work that is happening in other places in the world and places that our community has a long-time relationship. One of those touch points was the opportunity to take a moment and a handful of days and a lot of hours traveling, about 65 hours of traveling total, to visit Kathmandu, Nepal, and to celebrate the 50th year of our sister city relationship with Kathmandu. I think many people might know Kathmandu is our oldest sister city relationship, and they just were a part of, and Kathmandu as a country has gone through a really extraordinary experience in their own democratic experiment in this past, really in this past year, 2025, following the Gen Z uprising, the Nepali parliament was dissolved, the government was dissolved, and it was just in the elections held on March 5th, the week of my time in Kathmandu, that a new parliament was elected and a new prime minister was elected. And that new prime minister is the former mayor of Kathmandu, Balin Shah. So pretty exciting time in a country that has struggled in some ways and is really showing strong support for an anti-corruption government and candidate. During that visit to Kathmandu, I was able to meet with their city officials, with their current mayor, Sunita Dangle, and her team of people. I toured multiple UNESCO cultural sites and city facilities, with Kathmandu's, essentially their CFO, their Director of International Relations, and their administrative staff. It was fascinating to spend that time in a place that has, over 90 languages spoken within the country of Nepal, many of those overlapping within Kathmandu, and I think about 200 distinct ethnic groups. And obviously, very strong Hindu and Tibetan Buddhist and influence within the communities. But I was there during the celebration of Holi, and that also was really fantastic to experience as a community member and a visitor, but also to see the ways in which that primarily Hindu holiday was really celebrated by the entirety of the community. And it was a remarkable experience of cultural exchange. I did also, as part of that delegation trip, seek out meetings with local NGO leaders who are specifically working with youth in the areas of education reform at the elementary and high school levels. And my hope is that some of these connection points can nurture the rekindling of a youth exchange between Eugene and Kathmandu. High school youth exchange programs are currently quite robust between our sister cities in Japan, Kakagawa, and also Jinju, South Korea. And I think that there is a remarkable opportunity and a natural opportunity to reconnect that between our cities in these coming years. So while I was with the mayor of Kathmandu and her team, we celebrated Eugene Kathmandu Sister City Day on March 1st, 2026, and I shared with them a city mayoral proclamation speaking to that 50-year relationship and our commitment into the future. The other proclamation that I carried with me to India and Nepal was a proclamation prepared to recognize His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama with an International Leadership and Human Rights Award through mayoral proclamation from the city of Eugene. In the days before I traveled to Kathmandu, I was incredibly honored to have an audience with His Holiness in Dharamshala, India, where the Tibetan government is in exile. And the following day, as a part of that trip, I also met with the president of the Tibetan government in exile, Sikyong Penpa Sering, and the head of their Security Council, both of whom have worked for many years as a part of that government that has been, and people that have been largely displaced from their indigenous homeland, now captured, utilized within maps by China and spoken to as a part of China and not as an independent country. The purpose of that proclamation and that International Human Rights Award was to recognize the many decades that His Holiness has dedicated to the work of human rights and nonviolence. It was truly an honor to share our community's appreciation with one of the great human rights leaders and moral leaders of this past 100 years. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is now 91 or 92 years old if you're using the Tibetan calendar, and has dedicated his entire life to the work of human rights and compassion and nonviolence. And at a time when there is so much attention placed on leaders who are not holding these priorities in the foreground and on the front burners, it was a great opportunity to put our attention there and to celebrate that work. And so if there is time, and Chair, please tell me. If not, I can also email this to the commissioners, and it's available on your City of Eugene website. I would just like to share with you that proclamation as a reminder of one of the ways that we can celebrate leadership in human rights, and to also just emphasize that this leadership is present internationally, but also nationally in all of our work to support human rights and to nurture nonviolence and clarity around the importance of cultural understanding and dialogue in service of our broader community goals and a future that we can be proud of. So Chair, please let me know. I know our agenda, you have a long list of items, and this would take probably about a minute and a half to share with you all, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity if we have time.
Oh, no, please. For you, Mayor, we can make time. So please, I would love to let you share that with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Booker. So this proclamation reads, Whereas with gratitude for a lifetime dedicated to cultivating openness, oneness, and compassion, we recognize His Holiness the Dalai Lama Tenzin Gyatso, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate and globally revered spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. And whereas on July 6th of 2025, His Holiness the Dalai Lama celebrated his 19th birthday, and this was also celebrated as a day of compassion globally and in the city of Eugene. And whereas His Holiness has dedicated his life to promoting peace, nonviolence, compassion, and universal responsibility, inspiring people of all faiths and cultures to embody warm-heartedness and a spirit of oneness. And whereas the Dalai Lama's message of kindness, human dignity, and interdependence aligns with the values embraced by the city of Eugene, values that champion diversity, equity, justice, accessibility, and well-being. And whereas the people of Eugene recognize the Dalai Lama's profound contributions to interfaith dialogue, cross-cultural understanding, and the defense of the rights of all peoples, including those of the Tibetan community, and whereas we honor His Holiness's unwavering commitment to the betterment of humanity and the enduring hope his teachings instill in Oregonians and people around the world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Karin Knudsen, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim that His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama received International Human Rights Leadership Award and encourage all people and members of the community in Eugene to celebrate this legacy of warm-heartedness and contributions that advance compassion, nonviolence, and shared humanity. And this is dated to February 25th, 2026, which was the date that I was so honored to be with His Holiness the Dalai Lama to present this to His Holiness and to have it received with such appreciation and care and gratitude to the community of Eugene. And in that conversation, he spoke to appreciation for this award, for the work that continues in our community, and also to the city of Eugene as and our community as a place that goodness flourishes. And so offering that observation to you all from His Holiness and just continued appreciation for how you support that flourishing.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Mayor. I really appreciate your proclamation. I do have to say, like, America right now is definitely not living up to the words in that proclamation, but hopefully Eugene can be a front runner in trying to live up to those words expressed in that proclamation. I would like to see human rights highlighted more in the community. I feel like a lot of times we are forgotten when it comes to issues that are directly concerning human rights. The commission is often left out or not brought up or not invited to the table. So hopefully we can see changes in that. And then I read in your interview that you said, leadership and human rights is so important, right now. And I just would like to see human rights being used in leadership to address human rights in our city and throughout Willamette Valley, throughout Lane County, especially considering the fear and the turmoil and what's going on with our families in terms of the detainments and kidnappings that are happening with ICE agents. So I definitely hope we as a commission in our city can live up to the words in that proclamation. And it was very powerful, and I'm glad that we got to share that with Kathmandu, our sister city, and hopefully you had a discussion with them on challenges that we are facing in light of the climate of America right now and the fact that we are not living up to what we should be living up to in terms of fairness, community togetherness, discrimination, and racism that's prevalent throughout our country. So hopefully my words to you and my ask to you is just to help us as a commission be more visible and more accessible to the city, to see the work we do and what we stand for, so people know that we are a beacon and what we stand for, as your words have so strongly expressed in the proclamation. So thank you for being here with us and sharing that with us.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for those thoughts. And also, I will look forward to seeing you all on Thursday night. I think these kinds of touch points are great opportunities to encourage more of exactly what you were describing. So thank you to the Commission and all of the staff for efforts to make that event possible.
Thank you.
Yes. And I will see you all soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thank you, Fabio, thank you for inviting the mayor in. We'll move on to our next theme. Well, no, we're 17 minutes behind. We'll catch up. We got our liaison report from Lieutenant Williams.
Thanks, Chair. I appreciate it. I only have a few cases to cover with the commission tonight. The first one is a throwback to one that I presented to you last month regarding one of our Catholic churches' signs getting defaced, vandalized. We put a camera up after that event and haven't seen any further activity on that one. The church hasn't reported any additional incidents. That's out South Willamette Street for reference. We had another incident between kind of in West downtown, an apartment complex where, and this was on the 28th of February near the end of the month, where tenants in an apartment, as we sometimes see, we discuss here, living in close proximity to each other, different walks of life. One of the ladies there noticed her neighbor leaving in a way that he does frequently, walking his dog without a leash, and she commented on it, told him that that wasn't appropriate. She said that he told her to go back to Mexico and that he should call ICE on her. He claimed that she made some racist comments against him as a white man, some derogatory terms, and they argued back and forth. And that was sort of the extent of it. Police came out and listened to both sides, each side kind of minimizing their behavior, although the man did admit that he did talk about telling her to go back to Mexico. A witness said that he heard them kind of arguing, but that the argument didn't turn racially oriented until the guy made those comments about her going to Mexico and notifying ICE. The police did do a formal written warning on him about having his dog off leash, and that's a citable offense in the future, no matter how well trained the dog is, and referred both parties to the Department of Justice and the Office of Equity and Community Engagement. The last incident came in on the 4th of March, and this was a sort of a downtown bar scene argument between different groups of intoxicated folks. One group, a couple of guys were celebrating his birthday, and they were walking around down there, and a couple of ladies, one of them approached them or made a comment because she believed that one of them had taken her phone or her bag, and an argument ensued between one person from each party. And it ended up in a pushing match and sort of back and forth. At one point, she snatched the hat and glasses off of the man, a black guy, and he said that she used the N-word toward him. Police responded, and there were sort of conflicting statements about who did what and who said what. The lady who grabbed the hat and glasses off the victim, her friend claimed to be the one that used the N-word and claimed she used it against her own friend. So it's hard for the officer to kind of weed through the facts. Our sergeant in the Special Investigations Unit assigned this back to the officer that took the initial report, and he's going to speak with bar staff and see if there's any video of the incident that kind of help clarify what was done at the time. So it's been documented in a report, forwarded back to patrol for follow-up, and perhaps I'll have an update at our next meeting. Those are the 3 incidents I had to share with the commission. I'm happy to field any questions at this time.
Yeah, were the women in that last incident white women?
So here's a little bit of a deficiency with these reports. And this came up about a year ago. People were asking about races, and in these reports that I get don't include that immediately. So unless I prepare that and answer in time or can't decipher it from the reports, I can't tell.
I'm just wondering if they were non-black, what there is to weed through about a friend claiming I used that term for my friend, who is not going to take offense to it, is not a hate crime, and I will not get in trouble, and that's very obviously not what happened. That just is very interesting to me that it's unweed throughable.
That's a very
Well, it's not, that's a component. Who attacked who, what order of things that happened are sort of the details that are more challenging for an officer. So using that word in itself is not a crime. Using that word while you're committing a crime escalates the crime to a bias crime. So the police need to find out whether this was a physical harassment on both people's parts or where one person committed a serious bias crime. So we're working with facts and trying to determine in a complex situation with multiple versions of the same event what actually took place.
Yeah, Commissioner Murthy.
May I ask a question? I am curious about the data collected. Is that a federally, stipulated, sort of like what kind of fields you populate in the database? Is that done through some sort of federal guidelines, or how does it go?
I'm sorry, my microphone wasn't working super well. Are you asking kind of how we track the
Yeah,
race of
like
people that are
the
involved?
type, yeah, the fields that you collect data on, are they coming through some sort of federal guidelines, or can you collect more than like Commissioner Bowman was asking, were they non-white? So I was curious if those kind of guidelines come from federal law or the state law, or what can you collect and what can you not collect is something I wanted to know. Yeah.
Well, let me answer one question as I can. The lady who I would say was our primary aggressor in this case is listed in our computer system as white. We're not in the habit of asking people their race for what might be obvious reasons to try to prevent people from being uncomfortable chatting with us. It's usually, in most contexts, it's irrelevant, and it's a complicated issue for folks. So the race is frequently left to the perception of the officer unless it's relevant to the person's story or their statement to the police, in which case then it will be added to the report. So she was listed in our local system as white. So, when I was asked this question 8 months ago or a year ago, I think a good conversation to share with you or to begin is that this is not a simple matter for the police. This is complex and comes with a lot of emotion for folks. I remember somebody that they had an interesting last name, perhaps Eastern European. This is when I was a brand new officer. And I asked a little bit, I thought I was making small talk, asking what the family origin of the name was, and the person became offended. So I think people come from different parts of the world. They come from different experiences with law enforcement, and often inquiries into somebody's ethnicity or race are frightening for people and can be and can kind of damage the willingness to speak with the police.
Is self-identification possible? Is something that, if you leave it to the person to describe how they want to describe themselves, is that one of the potentially possible? I'm just asking for possibilities, yeah.
I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. I like the way you put that, asking people's willingness to discuss or seeing if they're willing to share that information. There may be some training that we can offer, especially in these cases of bias crimes or bias incidents, where someone's ethnicity or race, for lack of a better term, does potentially play a role in whether a crime took place or not.
All right. Well, thank you, commissioners, for your input. There's so much I want to say, but I can't for the sake of time. I will say that we do know that a lot of protections are given to white criminals. A lot of times, the benefit of the doubt is always given to them when it comes to certain things like this. And it would be nice where we can come in a community where that protection is not there and present when racial incidents happen, and that they approach it the same way they would approach if it was a Black suspect or a Latino suspect or et cetera. But unfortunately, there's a lot of protections around white criminality, and that's just fact. So I would like to see more when it comes to these kind of situations, and I won't elaborate anymore, but I do appreciate your work and willingness to come and share these incidents with us. And it gives us more to think about and more conversations to have so we can push the progression meter forward. So thank you, Lieutenant Williams, for sharing that with us.
You're welcome, Doctor. And I appreciate the questions. I think they're fair questions, and they go to the heart of the issue here. So I'll give that some thought and see if there's something we can do, if there's room for us to adjust our policy in a way that doesn't run afoul of state law or federal guidelines as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Chair, just a reminder for the commissioners, if the commission identifies something that requires a change in policy that applies to the police department, that's something that can be discussed through the police commission, and the HRC has a seat on that commission. So your liaison to the police commission could engage in that kind of conversation.
Thank you, Fabio. We'll be moving on to our next item, which brings us to you, Fabio, our bias report. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, I would just like to get your attention initially to two cases that were on the news recently about hate crimes being prosecuted and actually people being found guilty, which is the weakest link in our protection system. Is that many times people will report situations, police will investigate, but the cases are not prosecuted. And then that can give people a sense that justice is not being served. And it was on the news recently about an incident in which a man who identified as gay was attacked, seriously attacked, and ended up in a hospital. And the aggressor in that case was sentenced recently. And there was another incident regarding attacks or religious place, and the aggressor was also found guilty and sentenced. So when those cases happen, it is important for us to notice them and learn about the facts of the case, so we can use them as example to help people understand why it is important to report. It's not every single case that will be investigated and prosecuted, but sometimes it does happen, and it is important that we highlight those cases. I want to get your attention to a document that I include in your meeting packet, and I apologize, I forgot to add the page numbers. So it's on page 10, if you are counting them. There is an article that was posted on KLCC and OPB, and it is about immigration enforcement data. I'll put it on the screen just for the record so people know what we are talking about, for those attending at home or watching the recording later. So here is the article. New data shows immigration enforcement surge in Oregon and Washington. And if you read through the article, you'll find some numbers about what's happened in the past year. In this chart, you can see the spike in activity. In Washington, it was a more gradual increase, and in Oregon, it was a sudden jump towards the end of 2025. And on the next page, you can see a chart that shows the locations. And for Eugene, you'll see 93 apprehensions in 2025. So this is important because we usually don't get data. Not much data is being produced by the federal government. So this is investigative reporting and study through the university in Washington. And it is one data point that we have to understand what is happening in the community. And this is related to the resolution that City Council approved in February and the grants that City Council direct us to offer to our community. So now we have a data point indicating perhaps how many people were affected. Many of those have families here in the community, so we can get a sense of how many families are being impacted by immigration enforcement in Eugene. I can let you know that the grant application is now live. We start sharing that grant application today, so people can go to the City of Eugene website, and if they search for human rights, they will get to our page, and a special human rights grants application is now open. Our office will be notifying everyone in our contact list starting tomorrow, and we will be reaching out to the organization that we know do work on immigration, but we will try to promote it as broadly as possible. And then depending on how many applications we get and how soon they come in, we may be convening the ad hoc committee from the HRC to review those applications and make decisions about awarding the grants.
Thank you, Fabio. And we do have our committee ready. So whenever you and Melissa are ready to kind of orchestrate that, we'll be ready. We have our commissioners that are ready to review those applications so we can start divvying that money out. And then second to what you said, I know we have a police commission, we have a commissioner that's liaison. The question I would like to take to the police commission is, I know I heard Chief Skinner say that officers do not assist ICE and whatsoever, but I don't know how much control he has over officers on their off-duty time. So are officers allowed to help ICE or work for ICE part-time when they're not in uniform for EPD? That's what I would like to know. So if that question could be taken to the police commission and find out if any officers are allowed to assist or work for ICE in their off-duty time or part-time work when they're not in uniform. That's my question. So yeah, thank you, Fabio, for that. And let's move on. We got city council updates. Floor is yours.
As you heard in the presentation of the HRC report to council, Councilor Leach has asked to be reassigned. She is unable to attend HRC meetings in person or virtually on Tuesday evenings, and we could not change the date of the meeting at this time, so we may be receiving a new council liaison assignment. So for now, I will just get your attention to some items on the tentative agenda that has been included in your meeting packet and is also posted on the City of Eugene website. So on April 13th, we are getting the candidates for boards and commissions, including candidates for the HRC vacancies that will become available on July 1st. They will be presenting their statements to council. So for those who have time, it would be good to listen to those statements. And we will get a sense of how many people will be applying for the HRC and who council may be considering for filling up the vacancies that will come up for the second half of the year. Also on the agenda, I can get your attention to April 22nd. On that date, our office will be presenting on our work on neighborhood planning. And we are right now conducting visioning and priorities planning for Bethel and the university areas. And we are supporting implementation of a neighborhood plan for the River Road and Santa Clara. We will be presenting on those three processes, and all three of them have community actions that are related to equity, belonging, inclusion, and that is related to the work that the Human Rights Commission does. So our office tries to incorporate that in how we engage with the residents. So if you can tune into that session on April 22nd, it's just one day after the HRC meeting next month. So I'll be reminding you then that you can tune into that conversation. Related to the City Council agenda, we can pose a question for the HRC, and you do not need to discuss this today. It's just for awareness that it may come up in an upcoming meeting, which is sometimes we don't have a good alignment between the dates of the HRC meeting and the time by which something is being considered at City Council. Therefore, we don't have time for the commission to assign a task to a work group, get recommendation, testimony, or whatever you want to share with council, approved in time for the date in which council is considering some items. So some commissions have take different approach to doing so. For example, they may designate a smaller committee to come up with statements, or they may designate the chair or vice chair to do that work, or they may have pre-approved statements. For example, if something is related to the HRC goals and work plan, that the chair or a designee can come to the meeting and get city council attention that item they are discussing is related to the HRC work plan, or to one of the goals of the Human Rights Commission, or to the rights in the International Declarations of Human Rights. So that could make providing comments to council faster. And if you remember from the presentation, some councilors said they would like to see more recommendations and more advice coming from the HRC to city council. So this is just to introduce you to the topic, and then we can discuss for the next meeting in April or in May what kind of approach you'd like to consider.
And please, I encourage all commissioners to submit any questions about anything that is important to you, or any issues that matter to you, no matter what they are. Submit something that you care about, so that our human rights voice can be heard, and we can see, because I'm pretty sure collectively we agree on a lot of things that we want to see come forward and come to fruition and see protections for. So please, I encourage all commissioners to submit a question about something that you care about. Commissioner Murphy.
Yeah, there was another public health standards code amendment, and this is directly related. This was a proposed code to require industrial developers to attest to their air, land, and water quality permits before getting permits. So this is a core EJ issue, environmental justice issue. And we often advocate protecting sensitive areas. So I was wondering if we should take an interest in that. So I'm happy to follow that, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Human rights is everybody, every day, everywhere. So I'm with it. Yes. Oh yeah, please do. All right. Any other commissioners? All right. Thank you, Fabio. Did you have anything else, Fabio, before we move on?
No, that's all for now. You do have the next items, which are requests for support. I have the updated budget, and I'll share that so people see how much has been awarded so far and what is available.
Yeah. This one that you sent me, I don't know if you can see it or not. That's the updated one with the red on it, the highlighted.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we'll go ahead and bring in Sound for Music if they're on.
So,
or Sound of Light Music, sorry.
Yeah, so chat. Sorry, I'm sharing the budget just for the record, so we get it on the recording.
Okay.
And for those attendees who may not have the packet with them to see what is available for the commission to award in terms of community support.
So we have 5,100 left until when?
If you award the two requests that are being presented today, so that balance is considering that you would approve the two requests being discussed today, and that's up to June.
Okay, up to June. Okay, thank you, Fabio. Okay, all right. Let's we'll move on to hearing the requests of support from Sound of Light Music Academy.
Commissioners, I have reached out to this applicant and invited them to join us. It was very strange. One person submitted the application, another person said they were not aware of the application, forwarded the application to him, but still did not hear back about them attending. I do not see them on the list of attendees. So I would probably advise, and if there is somebody, please let us know in the Q&A section so we can promote you. But I think commissioners need to make a decision without the applicant here tonight.
Well, I was seeing their requests for funding is for May 6th. So if the commissioners are in agreement, we could table this to allow them to come and speak with us for the next month.
I second that.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So all in favor of tabling this till next month, say aye.
I
Anybody, anybody oppose or abstain? All right, the ayes have it. We will table we will table Sound of Light Music Academy until next month to give them a time or opportunity to come and speak with us concerning their request.
Perfect. I will reach out to them.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Next, we have a request for funding from, I want to say, is it NAMI or NAMI Lane County?
I actually not sure how to pronounce it, but we do have Jennifer McLean joining us. If somebody could promote her to a panelist, that would be greatly appreciated.
And it's NAMI is how you say it.
NAMI. Okay. NAMI. Thank you. I'm so bad with pronunciations. NAMI. Okay. And what's her name, Melissa?
Jennifer McLean.
Jennifer. Okay.
She should be available to speak with y'all now. There she is.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. Hi, you all can hear me?
Yes, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jennifer McLean. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the executive director with NAMI Lane County, and you pronounced it also correct. So if you're from the East Coast, NAMI is 100% correct. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and our organization is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we cover all of Lane County. First, I'd like to say thank you for hearing from me and hearing about our request. It's always exciting. I know a few of you, or seen a few of you, so some of you might know a little bit about NAMI, but I'll give you the background. So our organization's mission is to support, educate, and advocate for those living with a mental illness, but also their family, their friends, their partners, their coworkers, our entire community. We offer free and confidential programming. So we offer free support groups and education classes and resources to anyone who identifies as living with a mental illness, but also their families and friends. An individual doesn't have to have an official mental health diagnosis to be seeking our services or want more information. We align very closely with y'all's mission in that we are zero barrier. So we are 100% free, no cost to the participant. We're confidential. We don't take any personal information from anybody. We're also not outcome driven. So it's truly a drop-in, zero barrier mental health access program. We offer our groups online and in person in our office in Springfield and in person in rural communities. And what's also really cool about our programs, which makes us a little different than other mental health providers, is that we're peer-led. So individuals with lived experience are sharing their experience in leading our groups and classes. So really having that safe space of support, empathy, and then providing hope. Our mission is all around awareness and destigmatizing mental illness and mental health. I'm seeking support from you all in the commission this evening to support our fundraiser. We hold one fundraiser a year. It's our NAMI Walks, which is coming up May 16th. It's a free, family-friendly event that's accessible to anybody. You don't have to be a part of our programs or anything like that. It's at Island Park in Springfield. It has a 5K associated with it, a walk, which is non-competitive, untimed. It's also all along the paved path. So mobility device accessible, strollers, bikes, rollerblades. It's also a pet-friendly event. It's all around raising awareness and then sharing resources. So these funds that we raise through the sponsorship, seeking portion, the support, all goes back to those programs that I mentioned earlier. So all of that feeds those programs. And then the other side of our fundraising is peer-to-peer fundraising. So we seek out individuals to join a team and help us fundraise. But it's not obligatory to fundraise, to participate in the event. We have lots of community organizations tabling, sharing about community resources, mental health resources, but we also have tons of fun stuff. So we have face painting and balloons and raffles, and we get a lot of community performers. So we do like Tai Chi, and we have other dancers perform. This year I might have dog agility tests, sort of wrapping around that everything is connected to mental health and creating that sort of safe space to know more. I don't want to go too much. I wanted to see if anyone had questions, and I know you all have a tight agenda. So I'll sort of leave it there and see if any of you have questions about what we do or the event.
That was perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. Do any of our commissioners have any questions or concerns or comments before we take it to vote?
Chair, I'm curious to see if Melissa is tabling at this event. Melissa, are you going to be there?
I have not asked, but would love if we could, if that's a possibility.
Yes, yes.
Jennifer, does that work if we have information there?
100%. So we would love to have you be there as a community partner. So we can provide the table and the chairs. You just need the materials and the people to sort of staff and share that information. We also have volunteers at the event. So if Melissa or someone else from the commission is there, but also wants to participate in the walk, we have a few volunteers that stay behind to sort of watch the table. So you could still participate in any way that you'd like as well. So yes, it is 100% available to have a community table sharing information about all of your work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, we'll take it to vote. NAMI is asking for $500. So I will ask for a second to approve the $500 request for NAMI for their 5K walk-in event on May, sorry, let me get this right, May 16th. So do I have a second for that?
Second. This is Martha.
Okay, so thank you, Martha. All in favor of approving the $500 request, say aye.
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 Anyone oppose or abstain? No. All right, and aye for me as well. Thank you, Jennifer. We and congratulations on the $500 from HRC. We look forward to participating in the event, and tabling there. And I really have so much admiration for what you're doing. Mental health is so important right now, and not that it hasn't been always, but definitely right now. We definitely need the help right now, especially within our community. So thank you for being a resource within our community, and we look forward to your event.
I appreciate all of your support and all the great work you do, and I wish you all a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you all in just 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, more part of the event. Okay. Moving on, we have another discussion and vote. We have an organization for non-ethical monogamy and relationships. They have a representative here?
Organization for polyamory and ethical non-monogamy.
Yes, sorry. Sorry, my mouth is dry. Polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. Commissioner, are you going to be speaking for it, or is there a representative here that's going to speak?
I had assumed that I would be speaking, so I did prepare a slide deck.
Okay. Okay, yep, no problem at all. So here to present will be our very own Commissioner Ward. The floor is yours.
Okay, let me see. So I haven't done this. Let me see if I can figure out how to share.
You have to be a co-host.
No, my panelists can share.
Okay, let me. Apologies for the technical difficulties.
No worries.
So I don't know if that's going to work quite how I'd hoped it would. So I'll just go ahead and share my PowerPoint here, my PowerPoint window. Can everybody see okay?
Yes.
Okay. So the ordinance that's before us pertains to non-discrimination against people on the basis of their family structure or their relationship structures. A little bit of motivation here. At the heart and soul of it, in my mind, not all families look the same. Not all relationships look the same. And that's okay. Many people live in family and relationship structures differing from the traditional two-parent, 2.5-kid nuclear family. A couple of statistics. In 2024, there were 38.5 million one-person households, 29% of all U.S. households. 47% of households were married couple households. That's less than half. That's down from 71%, and I have a graphic that will show a little bit of those trends later on. About 1 in 5 households represent that traditional ideal married couple with children. It's very much a smaller number of that pie. One study found that among single adults sampled, 1 in 5 have at some point in their life engaged in some form of consensual non-monogamy. It's really not as unusual of a relationship or dating situation as one might think. The problem here is that current laws don't protect people on the basis of their relationship structure, their family structure, and many people, particularly in the ethical non-monogamy and polyamorous community, face stigma and face potential discrimination in various social locations. So just at a high level, some really key ideas: family and relationship structure. What are we actually talking about here? Household composition and interrelationships. Consensual adult relationships, people who choose not to be in a relationship, non-nuclear families. This includes multi-partner families, multi-parent families, co-parenting situations. This includes blended families, multi-generational households, people that are single parent by choice households, or people that just live alone. I wanted to speak very quickly about what exactly is polyamory, just so that people know what these words are. Since they'll come up a few times. It's a little funny trying to find a reasonable definition for ethical non-monogamy and polyamory, because these two ideas are very closely related to one another, and they oftentimes are conflated. They are technically separate, but you'll see a lot of overlap. Ethical non-monogamy is a relationship structure in which all involved parties consent to multiple romantic or sexual relationships or engagements with honesty, open communication, and mutual respect for everybody's boundaries. The key there is honesty. The key there is consent. The key there is everybody is informed. Polyamory specifically is the practice or support of maintained committed romantic or sexual relationships with more than one partner in parallel, concurrently, or with the consent of all involved partners. For instance, I have 2 partners myself. We all live together. This is my life. Polyamory is a form of ethical non-monogamy. Ethical non-monogamy is an umbrella term. Polyamory, I want to call this out since it does come up. Polyamory is not the same thing as polygamy. It's not the same thing as plural marriage. Polyamory is a relationship structure. Marriage is marriage. So looking at the specific ordinance, I wanted to go into sort of the specific wording. I pulled this directly out of the ordinance just to highlight it here. Family and relationship structure means the actual or perceived involvement or lack thereof of an individual in an intimate personal relationship or relationships other than a marital relationship. This includes individuals' actual or perceived affinity or lack thereof for any given type of intimate personal relationship other than a marital relationship. regardless of whether the individual is currently in any intimate personal relationships. Intimate relationship here means an interpersonal relationship other than a marital relationship between two or more individuals that involves romantic, physical, or emotional intimacy. This includes multi-partner, multi-parent families and relationships, step families, multi-generational households, diverse family structures, consensually non-monogamous relationships, and consensual sexual or intimate relationships, including asexual and aromantic relationships. And something that's important to call out here, that in the context of this ordinance, and the wording is very specific, when speaking about romantic relationships and those types of intimate relationships, we are speaking in the context of adult relationships. So that's a very important thing to call out. Key points: only 18% of U.S. households fit the nuclear family model. The graphic that I have down here comes from a document from the U.S. Census from 2022. Millions of Americans are estimated to participate in consensual non-monogamy, around 4 or 5%, which is about on par with the number of people that identify as queer, as a matter of fact. Family structures are changing faster than policy. This graphic was meant to demonstrate that the number of households that fit that sort of traditional ideal is getting smaller and smaller. We're seeing more multi-generational families. We're seeing a lot more diversity there. Apologies if I'm rushing a little bit. I'm trying to be mindful of time. So what is our evidence of harm? What is our call to action? Why do we need to do something here? So OPEN, the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy, in collaboration with a dating service known as Field, did a wide survey, surveying, I want to say it was around 6,000 people. They had about 6,000 respondents, assessing different areas of discrimination that they had endured. This included within the last year or within their lifetime. The numbers actually are quite staggering. People that report experiencing discrimination in their lifetime, 60.9% reported yes. Oh, and I see the number down there, 5,885 respondents. 60.9% reported some kind of discrimination or stigmatization within their lifetime. Within the last year, 39.8. That's a smaller number than 60, but it's still astoundingly large. It is very uncomfortable. That graphic to the right shows a very strong correlation between how open somebody is in their life about their polyamorous status and the levels of discrimination or stigmatization that they experience. It's pretty compelling. I would call out too that there's an intersectional component here. LGBTQ people, including transgender individuals, are more likely to practice non-monogamy. It's very, very common. Almost all of my friends in Eugene live under the queer umbrella in some way, or either trans or some other queer identifying. I've never sat down and recorded numbers, but I would venture to guess that in upwards of probably 60-70% of everybody that I know in Eugene is practicing some form of ethical non-monogamy. Again, mind you, most of my friends and most people in my social group are queer identifying. So there is a significant overlap there. Because of that, discrimination on the basis of relationship structure has a compounding effect on communities that are more likely to observe that type of relationship structure. So the LGBTQ community is compounded. The discrimination against that community is compounded by this particular facet of experience. People in unprivileged socioeconomic situations often engage in multi-generational or non-nuclear extended living situations. It's worth noting that multi-generational families have a cultural component. In some cultures, that is not unusual. It's not strange. It's not strange to live with your parents. It's not stigmatized. Here in the United States, it's kind of seen a certain way. So let's talk about the ordinance and what it actually does. What the ordinance does is it adds family or relationship structure as a protected category. It encodes protections in areas including housing, employment, public accommodations, city services. Okay. Let's talk about what the ordinance does not do. This ordinance is looking at discrimination specifically. It is saying no discrimination on these bases. It does not change marriage laws. It does not add any new notions of marriage whatsoever. It does not modify existing notions of marriage. And in fact, just to illustrate this for myself, I did a quick search through the document and found that the word marriage doesn't even come up in the proposed ordinance. Marital comes up 3 times in the context of a definition. So it does not create any new legal relationship statuses. It does not require recognition of multi-partner marriages. All it does is it addresses the issue of discrimination specifically. What is discrimination? I included this in here because it is at the heart of what this ordinance is doing, but discrimination in the context of this ordinance, any act, policy, or practice which regardless of intent has the effect of subjecting any person to differential treatment as a result of that person's family or relationship structure. I believe David had mentioned to me in an email that the language may have been updated since this was sent to us. The phrase differential treatment includes any limitation on a person's full, unsegregated, and equal access to employment or enjoyment of employment, real estate transactions, business establishments, and municipal services. Discrimination on the basis of family and relationship structure shall include both discrimination based on actual knowledge of family and relationship structure and discrimination based on supposition or assumption of family and relationship structure and desired structure. I'll go ahead. I won't go through this whole list word for word because that's a lot of words. But what does this ordinance prohibit? It would be illegal to discriminate based on family or relationship structure in housing, employment, public accommodations and services, businesses, city services and programs, labor organizations. Yeah. So how does this actually work? What happens if discrimination occurs? How does this protect people? Enforcement, what it does is it allows people that are victims of discrimination to take civil action. I again included the specific wording, any person who violates or any person who aids another to violate any provision of this chapter shall be liable for up to 3 times actual damages and litigation costs and reasonable attorney fees. The Opens general guide, I think it was called, one of the documents that was included also mentioned a minimum minimum fine of $1,000. I think that may possibly be a California code specific provision. I'm not sure on that. I would have to check. But in any case, 3 times actual damages and litigation costs and reasonable attorney fees. No new city resources are called out or required. I do want to point out, because I recognize this is important, there is a non-waiverability clause. What this is stating is that if I enter into a real estate transaction, my real estate agent cannot include in there some sort of provision asking me to waive these rights. If I get into an employment situation or I go to a staffing agency looking for a job, they cannot ask me to sign away these guarantees and these protections. That is null and void according to this ordinance. So we're on to the last slide, the proposal. What is the action that's being requested of the Human Rights Commission? Asking you to recommend that asking to forward a recommendation to the City Council to adopt non-discrimination protections for family and relationship structures, using Open's sample ordinance as a legislative framework upon which to build a Eugene-specific and Eugene-appropriate city ordinance. The things that I'm recommending that we forward on to City Council. The HRC statement, which is included in the board packet or the agenda packet, the formal policy recommendation, the model ordinance, precedent ordinances, Berkeley and Portland, those have both been included in your packets. Any research and supporting materials, and collecting community and organizational statements. Any questions?
Do any
That was a lot.
commissioners have? That was a great presentation. Thank you, Commissioner Ward, for sharing that with us. Any questions, concerns, or comments for Commissioner Ward before we take it to vote?
I have one.
Commissioner Brad. Oh, sorry. Let's do it inside the room. Commissioner Poindexter.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward, for a tremendous amount of work. I am wondering if this can also cover school visits and pickups and parenting in teacher-parent situations. Is that something that has come up, and should we include public school as a protection?
So what I think you might be asking, I believe what you're asking is, let's say you have a polycule of a couple of partners that collectively raise a child that act in a parental capacity to that child. Would a non-biological, in this case, partner be protected or be recognized as a authorized person to pick a child up? Is that correct? Just as a for instance?
I mean that, and I also mean multi-generational families and grandparent caregivers, and a whole range of family configurations where sometimes when a child has an accident or is sick, the families can't get in either to the school or the hospital. And I'm just hoping that we also cover that.
So I'd have to go through and look, and I would love to take that question back to David. My hunch is that this is something that would be covered.
Okay.
Look real quick.
Yeah.
Because
Check in with the schools too, because you can have like whoever on a list to come pick up a child, but also is that things like I can sign a permission slip
Right.
for a field trip. I can authorize like a permission slip to watch a movie in class that you may or not be able to do. I can check in on what your grades look like and have a conference with your teacher about those things. So ideally, I would think, because the schools are under the purview of the city in some aspect, but maybe it's worth checking in with a representative from the district and asking how they see this policy showing up.
Yeah. I think the policy covers a great deal. I'm just hoping that we're not leaving that out. Okay, thank you.
Thank Commissioner Bradley.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner, I'm sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Commissioner Ward, question for you. You said that the proposed ordinance is based off of Oakland's ordinance, and I know that Portland has similar ordinance. Somerville, Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Is there a reason or specific elements of the Oakland ordinance that kind of draws the group to it specifically?
I apologize. I missed some of that question. Would you mind repeating? I'm sorry.
Oh, so they're just, there are a few cities around the country that have a similar ordinance. And the question is there something specific about the Oakland ordinance that is more attractive or that provides more robust protections?
Good question.
So the ordinance that was produced, it was produced in conjunction with Harvard Law School. My understanding of the history is that Open put together, and I think David could speak to this better than I could. Open put together this proposed ordinance and then took it to Berkeley, took it to, I believe, it was either Seattle or Olympia, took it to Portland to get passage. So my understanding is it's not based on Oakland's ordinance specifically. This was crafted and created starting at Harvard Law School. Does that make sense? As for what is appealing about it, I can speak to my personal opinion. There is the rigor of the work that has gone into it. There is the scope in which it covers. I would say those are things that stand out to me.
Thank you, Commissioner. I was just asking if there was something specific about the Oakland ordinance as opposed to the other ordinances that made it kind of the model for your group.
If you don't mind, can we promote David? Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Yes, David, welcome.
Hey friends, David with Open here. And real quick, John, just to answer your question a little more on that. As we were starting this work to bring this policy to more municipalities, Oakland, specifically that document had the most, it was a staff report. And so it had some rationale and understanding behind the policy and not just the policy itself. And so that's why it's been used so far. And now here in Oregon, now that Portland has passed it, I'll be pushing that a little more, offering that up. And then about echo about the schools, I do believe that is covered under the public services part of this policy, right, as a large blanket statement. But that is an interesting question that has not come up. And I look forward to hearing answers from superintendent or anybody from the school district on that one. So thanks for letting me add my 2 cents here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. We have Commissioner Murthy.
Yeah, I have a question regarding impact statements from local communities. Like if you gather anonymized stories from residents who have faced housing denials or workplace hostility due to their family structure, and perhaps the HRC could consider a call for testimony to gather Eugene-specific data to supplement the national research.
Yeah,
Just to make it stronger, yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Vinita. I created a flyer for that, and I just learned how to make a QR code, so that's very exciting. We're just trying to figure out the best method. Like, is that a Google form? Is it an email that we set up that we have people submit their stories to? Where is that housed? Is it like, I don't know if I as a commissioner can create that. I don't know if I have the structure or the ability to, or if that's like something that we'd have to have Fabio do or Melissa do or toss to Julian, who's great at that. Just what that looks like so that we can then put that flyer out so that we can gather those stories and have folks able to be heard.
Yeah, I had another question about like clarifying distinction between marital status and family relationship status. Perhaps could include relationship structure includes non-consensual, non-monogamy, and multi-parenting, just to prevent ambiguity. I mean, if you put that, perhaps it could result in a strong, just a clarification suggestion, nothing big.
Commissioner Ward, did you want to respond to that, or David? It was a suggestion, a proposed suggestion.
Do you mind repeating it one more time? I apologize.
The need is to distinguish between marital status, which is already protected, and family relationship structure. Like the proposal could specify the relationship structure includes consensual, non-monogamy, and multi-parenting, just to prevent legal ambiguity.
What legal ambiguity is there a particular?
I mean, like, if you could tell them exactly where this fits in the city code, Eugene City Code. I think it might be chapter 4. I'm not sure. I did some digging. So I just wanted to suggest a place where this could fit in. Yeah.
I think she might be pointing you to some city code that you could possibly use in terms of legal wording or breaking down of certain definitions that the city has already provided through city code.
Yeah, I can offer some background here, Chair. City code already has protection based on familial status. So we do not know if City Council will take this on. So the HRC, the process is that if the commission makes a recommendation, City Council receives that recommendation, and they will likely ask, they have a poll to see how many councilors would be in support of scheduling a session to discuss the topic. So you would need a certain number of city councilors agreeing to take on the topic. And then they will discuss with, there will be conversations about it. If they decide to go with an ordinance to change city code, there will be a hearing. And the city attorney would advise on the language and what could be changing in the existing code to achieve the outcomes expected from the HRC recommendation. So right now, the protection is based on familial status. People cannot be discriminated at the city of Eugene, in the city of Eugene, on employment, access, housing, and other things based on familial status. And then the definition of that could be adjusted. It's one of the possibilities for City Council.
Yeah, perhaps a frequently asked questions list, like what does relationship structure mean? Doesn't marital status already cover this? I mean, these sort of FAQs will help the City Council move closer to adopting an ordinance. Yeah.
That is very true and very good that you said that, Commissioner Murphy. Basically, Commissioner Ward, the more breakdown of definitions and like the more you explain and break down exactly what you're trying to come across as, I think when she said the more likely City Council is to want to hear it or push it through or bring a session where a discussion can be had. These are just suggestions for yourself and David to consider. David, did you want to? I saw your hand up. David, did you want to come in and say anything or add anything to the conversation before we take it to vote?
The answer, Fabio, was wonderful to help with that. I was just looking up exactly what familial status was. And it's the legal protection against housing discrimination for households with at least one child under 18 living with a parent, legal custodian, or designee, including pregnant individuals or those securing custody. And also that this is under Chapter 4.1 something in Eugene City Code. And so between familial status and relationship structure and family structure, these are very different things, right? The family structure in this covers a whole separate, diverse types of families versus legal protections for people with children.
Right. So it doesn't really address polyamory or non or ethical non-monogamous relationships. Is basically.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So then we specifically point out who our current city ordinance protects and who we're trying to expand that to. Like,
Okay.
yeah, so like it covers these people. Like I can't be discriminated against for having kids and wanting to rent a place, whether I'm a single parent or married. But if my wife and I had a partner, I could be. And so like the definitions are good, but I think that also calling out very specifically, this is who currently is protected. This is who we're trying to make sure is protected. And then here's our statements about why that matters from people who are experiencing it, I think is a strong approach.
Yeah, can also add examples of cities that have already done this, so we'll have a stronger evidence base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
that's a good
want to
suggestion.
open it together.
All right. Okay, any other commissioners want to add anything or any other questions before we take it to vote on pushing this through to city council? No? Okay. So can I get a second? Hold on. Oh,
Chair,
yes.
sorry, just for clarification. And we are running behind, so you may have a conversation about extending the meeting. If the commission is going to vote on a recommendation, you'd need a final recommendation that commissioners feel like it's ready to be discussed. So just for clarity, it would be important for the commission to decide if you're ready to recommend the document as presented in your meeting packet, or if you need to make adjustments and vote on a different document, because multiple questions were raised, and it would be important for us to understand what to forward to council. Is it the document as included in the meeting packet, or is it a document amended based on the questions presented today?
That is good. I'm glad you brought that up, Fabio. Good suggestions. Basically, David and Commissioner Ward, would you like to table our vote until you can make some amendments and changes to some of the suggestions that the commissioners presented in order to help get this pushed through? Because if we vote on it right now, we will have to submit the package as is, as it's submitted to us today. Or would you like to allow some time to make some adjustments to the package, and then we can come and vote on it next month? We could table it to next month just to give you some time to make some adjustments to some of the suggestions that the commissioner said. So I'll leave that up to you. Would you like us to vote on it today, or would you like time to table it and bring it back once you've made some not corrections, but some additions?
Is it okay for me to respond to that?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, Commissioner. So
I mean, the suggestions that I've been hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, the suggestions that I've been hearing sound to me more akin to suggestions on how to get this across the finish line at City Council, how to actually present the ordinance. It's not so much modifications to the sample ordinance itself. Am I correct there?
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's just to how do you get it over the finish line is what my suggestions came from. It's like preparing FAQ, like getting testimony from local community. I mean, that sort of things will strengthen your proposal to move to city council adoption. Yeah.
The suggestions that Commissioner Murthy is making is just to help you to get this over the finish line, so that it's just one less hurdle that City Council wouldn't have in order to help you to get this approved. That's basically the suggestion.
I do see.
Sorry, there is a question here in the room, Chair.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Bradley.
Oh, I think that might be different than what Fabio was talking about. Fabio, did you have?
Is just voting on whether or not we'd like to move forward to gather support from city councilors. And then those city councilors will discuss if we can get enough on board with us or come to us with any questions that they have. Because we're not the city lawyer, we're not crafting the ordinance. We're just saying this is what we have and this is what we'd like included.
Yeah. Let me clarify the process. So for the HRC, when you vote on a recommendation, we staff will take your recommendation, vote today, and forward it to council. At that point, council decides if they want to take on or not. If they decide to carry it forward for a conversation and vote, then it follows the city council policy making process, which will be a work session to discuss the topic, perhaps a hearing for people to come and provide public testimony. So that would be not done through the HRC. That is done through city council staff and following the council process. So you have a recommendation in your packet. You may, as a commission, decide to vote on this recommendation as is, and we will forward that to council. And then it's up to city council to take on or not. Or you can decide, it's up for the commission to decide if you are ready to vote on it as is, or if you need adjustments and more time for that.
Okay. Commissioner Bradley?
Thank you, Chair Dr. Booker. My recommendation after reading the packet and comparing it with other ordinances is that it is very similar to, for instance, Portland's. The proposal here, it's broader, a bit broader than Portland's ordinance, but I don't think that that's necessarily a limitation or anything like that. I think it is a bit broader in scope. For the purposes of recommending for like a recommendation for the HRC, the ordinance and in the language itself looks to be very similar or the same as what was created out of open from Harvard Law School. So it may very well be that there are specific and important reasons that the language is the way that it is. That might be for questions like for the city attorney when or if it comes to that point. My recommendation is that if there's support in the HRC for the proposed ordinance, that we just forward the information onto and the recommendation onto City Council to vote on it tonight, to forward it on. The likelihood is if there are bits of the ordinance that need to be reconciled with our own city code for some reason, the city attorney and the City Council will engage that. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradley. Commissioner Ward?
So the only question that I have is if we want to collect public statements, which we currently do not have, how would that factor into this voting process? Does that make sense?
Yes. Fabio, do you have an answer to that?
Yes, that would happen through the city council process. So when council decides to discuss an ordinance, people would be allowed to provide public testimony. But that would not be done by the Human Rights Commission. The commission can have its own statement presented to council, but the community would follow the city council procedures.
Okay, so if we want to use that to strengthen our recommendation to city council, then we would want to wait until next month to do a vote so that we could use the next month to gather those and then include them in our recommendation packet.
Yes, you can submit supporting documents when you have a recommendation to council.
Okay.
Melissa?
Thank you. As the staff liaison for We See You work group, who's actually took the open proposal on, I really appreciate the clarification on the process. Something that I know that the subcommittee wants to do is start talking with counselors so that it doesn't surprise them when it does come up to them when the HRC approves it, when or if HRC approves it. And I'm wondering if that is something that commissioners can do now, and maybe even create more documents like addressing some additional FAQs and definitions. So that was one question. And the second question is, maybe not a question, a comment. This work group has already developed a coalition of community groups and organizations who are ready to testify either at City Council or provide written document. I don't know so I mean, I'm just mentioning that because that might play a part in your guys' decision to either delay or table it or to vote tonight.
Thank you.
But I would like my answer about the counselors, because I know folks are.
We are at time now. Chair, we are at time.
Okay, really quick before we continue discussion, let's vote to extend a meeting by 30 minutes. We might not need all of it, but can I get a second on that?
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor of extending the meeting by 30 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose or abstain? Okay, thank you. So let's continue the conversation. Did you have anything else to say, Melissa? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Nope, that was it.
Okay. So basically, we are at a point where we want to decide, I guess right now as a commission, do we want to go ahead and vote on it tonight as is, and push it forward for the city council to have a vote and look at it? Or do we want to table it until next meeting to give David and Commissioner Tria opportunity to get statements or add to it or define things? So basically it's down to, and I would like to hear from Commissioner Ward and David. Would you like us to go ahead and push through as is, or would you like more time to add to this? From what Fabio is saying, there's nothing more really that HRC can do in terms of helping to push this through other than us voting whether we agree with it or not. And it seems like a lot more will be done at the next level, which probably gives you an opportunity to address those definitions and put those statements together, and submit it. But it seems like there's another process to this, way outside of HRC's purview. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then I give the floor to you to, if you would like us to go ahead and vote on it, or would you like us to table it?
I mean, what would I like to see happen? I would like to see this set up for success. I would like to see the timing optimize, the probability of this getting passed. I'm hearing a couple of different approaches here. We can wait another month, gather statements, include them as part of the packet, and submit that all as one. Or we could submit this now, get things working now, and get people to submit comments either individually or it sounds like there might possibly be another opportunity to submit things more officially. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Just for clarification, whatever process you choose, once you make a decision to recommend something to council, this proposal requires an ordinance to change city code. So that makes it so that council must schedule a public hearing on the topic, and then people would submit public comments through that process. So that would happen no matter what HRC decides to use right now. And the city council agenda is set 3 months ahead of time. So submitting it now or a month from now would not change much on when it could make its way into the council agenda if councilors decide to take this on.
But the opportunity for folks to give that public comment takes away the anonymity that we would be able to provide them by them submitting comments to us directly and us taking those comments, versus when it gets to the city council's hands and they ask for a public comment, that's a more public platform.
For the ordinance process, all comments would be indicating the name of the people providing the comments.
Yeah, and that, I mean, whether or not this gets passed, I don't know if I want to only count on that testimony being the one that's provided when it may not feel safe for folks to do that. So I would feel better personally if we tabled this till next month. If this gets passed anytime in 2026, I'll be so flippin' stoked. And so that, yeah, right, like that doesn't stress me out to wait a month, but it does stress me out to put people in a position where they have to publicly make a comment when they could have avoided that, and we could have provided that now or like next month.
And you have a lot of, I like to add, you have a lot of community partners that could submit statements as well, which would make it more powerful of a packet. That's just my 2 cents. But again, yeah, I believe it. So your suggestion would be to table it. David, are you okay with us tabling it to give you time to kind of make it a stronger packet?
I defer to you all, right? This is your community and how you want to do it. I'm just here to support give answers where I can, and build organization. Some thoughts that I do have is that the public comment section was really powerful in Portland. There was some politicking going on, and it was kind of some dirty politicking from the city councilors, and it really made a difference to have. We were connected with a bathroom bill and a resolution for trans rights, but the community really came out. All of the organizations that were there for the other two parts of the bill all asked for the amendment to make sure that the list of different relationships and family structures were included. It changed at least one vote that we know of in the beginning. And so, yeah, that first hearing ordinance process is really important. And so either way, I think people are going to want to have their voices heard. And what I've seen in the past is that until we get to that point, people have been less likely to get engaged because it doesn't feel real, right? I've reached out to the community in Eugene, and not gotten a lot of response in the past. But now that this process is going on, I think that there will be more, especially now that we have so many community partners that are involved and that are very interested in this passing. So those are my thoughts, and I leave the final decision up to you all.
All right, Commissioner Ward, I'll leave the final decision up to you. Would you like us to table it or go ahead and vote on it?
I'm feeling this is kind of a funny thing. I'm brand new to the commission. I'm brand new to all of this. I'm appealing a little bit. I'm appealing to ignorance a little bit here. Not really knowing what the right answer is. My intuition personally, just based on what's been said, is that tabling it for a month and collecting statements, collecting official statements from organizations, including that in the packet, will not hurt anything, could potentially strengthen it. And in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really cost us anything in terms of tempo. It's 1 month in what could potentially be an upwards of a 6-month process. So to me, it feels like it strengthens the case, it strengthens the packet, and right out the door when that hits the city council, they are looking at a packet that is fundamentally much stronger, in addition to whatever public comment will show up, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yes, sir. Yes. So real quick, let's vote to table. Can I get a second on tabling the vote and discussion for Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy submission to City Council? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Yeah. All in favor of tabling it to next month, say aye.
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 Anybody oppose or abstain? All right, the ayes have it. We will table the discussion until next month, and then we will vote. We'll have another discussion and then vote on the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy. Thank you, David. Thank you, Commissioner Ward, for presenting this and allowing us to have a discussion around this. And hopefully we can push it through and make some policy changes. And if you want to too, also, Commissioner Moore, we have an option to have another subcommittee meeting before the next meeting as well, if you would like.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah. Okay. So we will move on to our next thing, which is homeless poverty work group updates.
Thank you, Chair. We did not have a meeting this month and are looking forward to next month's meeting.
All right.
That concludes our report.
Short and sweet. Okay, we'll catch up with you next month. We'll move on to the next one. We see you updates.
Thank you, Chair. I will start the updates and let other members of WeSeeU chime in. I wanted to just acknowledge that this open proposal came out of WeSeeU from a lot of work over a lot of months with a lot of people. So we're really impressed with the progress that we've made. Secondly, I wanted to say that there was on the work session for city council on the 9th of March, a mention of our work plan item regarding naming. They were discussing the naming policy, and one of the staff members said, well, this is on the Human Rights Commission work plan. So it's both nice to hear a mention and frightening because we really need to get on that naming issue at WCU. We just haven't had time to yet. Third thing I wanted to mention was that we've changed our meeting times to the first Wednesday starting next month. A meeting from 5:15 to 6:30. So we're trying to accommodate people's work schedules. And the last thing, which people can chime in on, is that we had our first community gathering on March the 4th, and we are going to have a follow-up community gathering to get more input. We were asking folks to talk about what was most important to work on in human rights in the community and in belonging. And we really need to have more input. I will say it was wonderful for the WCU work group to be together in person on March 4th because most of us had never been in person before. So it was good to see that we were all together and on the same page. Anything else from other members?
Thank you, Commissioner Poindexter, for sharing all of that. I would just add that it was a small but mighty group there, which is why we would like to try to offer this at least one more time. But it really great conversation and some really great ideas about maybe how to hone in on fewer things to make more impact, I think is kind of what I got out of that meeting.
I just want to say thank you for your leadership to both you, Commissioner Poindexter and Commissioner Baldwin for WCU. I really enjoy the dialogue and the conversation and the topics that are coming up within the community. And I look forward to continued success with that group, that subgroup. So thank you so much for your leadership in that.
Thank you.
All right, we have any more updates from WCU? We will move on to Office of Equity and Community Engagement updates.
Thanks, everyone. There is a lot going on in our office, many events coming up. This is, we are getting ready for our outreach season, which starts with events in the spring and summer and until early fall. I will just highlight a few things that we have been working on. Let me share my screen so I can show you some of the images. Not this one, not this one. Where is it? This one. So this is a campaign that our office is getting ready to make available to the community. It's based on a city council resolution that sets this statement as the goal for the city, a welcoming and safe community for all. And it directs people to a page on our website where they can see all the ways of being engaged, and they can sign up for updates from our office, from neighborhood associations, from the city of Eugene, and specific topics. And we are going to use multiple versions of this. This is a yard sign. So we will have multiple versions of this, different pictures highlighting different groups of people that could feel or need to feel included and safe in our community. So this is a version that will be promoted by our office. There is also a series of yard signs that will be designed for the neighborhood associations. So several associations already agreed to participate in the campaign. So you probably have seen some yard signs for neighborhood associations around town. and they will all be using the same message and they point to the same QR code, so we can gain in scale by having multiple parts of the city promoting the same message. And we hope that will prompt more people to get engaged with our work. Something else that we have been, sorry, not this one. What is there? This one. So we have been working on creating a new community engagement guide that is ready for use by staff. And the final component of that was creating a version that we can share with the community. So this document is being finalized. We hope to publish it in 1 or 2 weeks from now. And it describes the approach to community engagement that we use at the City of Eugene. We will have a digital copy and paper versions that we can share at events. So it describes the kind of work we do at the city, the grounding principles for our community engagement efforts on the second page. So building, expanding relationships, adapting to community needs. So this is about using cultural responsiveness approach, fostering belonging through collaboration with community members and community organizations and partners. Then we go to the different phases of our engagement process. The first one is community engagement in context, so understanding the system, the history, the needs of the community, building with people from early on in the process, so we involve impacted communities in the design of our community engagement processes. The second phase is the design of comprehensive community engagement plans. So we are aiming for the higher levels of community engagement towards collaboration and empowerment, tailoring engagement methods and timelines. This is very much connected to the survey that we did over a year ago. About 1,000 community members respond to our survey on community engagement preferences, and also based on the series of listening sessions that we organized. And we incorporate all that we learned from those processes into this community engagement approach and community engagement guide. The third phase is a relational implementation of community engagement plans. So how we connect with different communities, how we design our events and meetings to be inclusive, and how we document everything that is being learned through the process. And the final stage is about processing and sharing results with transparency and respect for all voices. So we are discussing how to prepare reports in a language that is easy for people to understand, how to include everything that we learn, how to strategize for ongoing engagement, and how to evaluate the work that is done and keep people informed about what comes out of a community engagement process. So we hope that this will help city staff provide a more uniform approach to community engagement. And it is also a document that we'll be sharing with consultants. For many processes, we have to hire consulting firms. And sometimes each firm will come with their own approach to community engagement. So people may have a very different experience depending on which department or which consulting team they are working with. So we want to make sure that everyone will get a similar experience across the organization and across the projects that we work on. Any questions on those?
Yeah, I do. I love it. I think what you're doing with that project is great. I would like to see one more phase added, and that would deal with historical repair and reconciliation. I feel like when we skip over that part and we want to jump straight to just moving forward, there's a community that's left behind. So what I would like to see is the acknowledgement, repair, and reconciliation of those historical atrocities, and we have it documented. So it would be good to add a phase 5 in that where people can see that Eugene is committed to acknowledging, repairing, and reconciling from its racist history. Especially considered, Eugene is known as this progressive city. And I feel like we can't progress until we acknowledge the atrocities that have happened. And we slowly are doing that, but not at the magnitude that we could be doing it. So I would like to see a phase 5 added in there, or maybe thrown in there somewhere and move something back. But it would be nice to see a historical attribute to this.
Yeah, I can provide more information, perhaps at an upcoming meeting, Chair. The initial phase, we have processes and templates and recommendations for assessing history, assessing harm that has been done to different communities early on, and planning with those communities. So the outcomes will pretty much match what you were proposing. So I can find some time, if you want, in an upcoming meeting to offer an overview of the extended guide. So this one is a summary of our steps. It has only 5 pages. We have a guide for staff on how to implement this work that has over, if printed, we don't have a paper copy of that one. It's just a website for staff to use in our intranet, but it will be about 130 pages of documentation. And that is going to be, is also informed by work done for the Equity Atlas. And for the, for example, we are working right now on phase 2 of the Black History Context Statement that helps in our planning processes how to account for things that happened in the past and that impacted the specific communities. So I can share more about those processes in an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I would love to see, I think it was KVAL that did a wonderful story piece on the 5 Black families, and having that incorporated in some form or fashion. And then again, as we discussed, the reason why we read that land acknowledgement and we have no relationship with the Native community, possibly seeing something in the packet as to how we built that relationship and how human rights can build that relationship with the Native community, indigenous community here, and learning that history and that story. So yeah, I would like to see those things added to it, and then I feel like it would be a whole, full, well-rounded process and program that you're doing. But it's spot on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Chair, I would like to add to your comment by saying that this flyer, Fabio, I understand this draft flyer would be finalized to share with the community members.
It will be posted on our website, replacing what we have right now, which is called Public Participation Guidelines. So that's the document we have right now that is very outdated.
Right.
So this simpler version would be the public-facing version of our internal community engagement guide.
So with this being what you call the public-facing version, I do think it's important to have at least a phrase about history in this. There's deeper engagement, of course, but if I was just glancing through this as a member of the public, if I was a Eugenian on the website, I wouldn't readily know that history was being taken into account. So
Yeah.
it does say historical context.
Yeah, we have collect feedback on this, but we can't think about ways to enforce. Let me share this for a second, because that is the first sentence on the document, is that it always starts with history. So let me make sure that you can all see.
Understanding.
Yes, so that's how it starts. So the first step in our community engagement process is understanding the system. And the guide has recommendations for staff on how to incorporate history, political context, previous projects that we're working on. So this is how we start every community engagement process, is reviewing existing policies and the historical and political context. So we can offer more details. This document was super summarized, but we have multiple pages on how to do that historical analysis for our community. And it links in our guide to the Equity Atlas, for example, that every city staff has been presented with and is part of our training, our belonging training series for staff, is how to recognize what happened here in the past.
Well, we could discuss. I would like to. I'm definitely going to discuss more of this at the next meeting because I definitely like it. But I definitely would like to actually see and read that when we open the brochure, rather than having to click some links in order to go chase it down. I would like to see it in the brochure, like the historical context. Again, but it could be like another phase of it. But we can definitely discuss it more. I want to make sure that we hit our time frame here. But let's move on to public comment. Do we have anybody that in public comment waiting to say anything?
No.
Okay, so we are 4 minutes. Save 4 minutes of your time. Before we cut out, are there any commissioners who, and thank you, commissioners. I know a lot of times we run over, but please understand I'm not trying to keep us over. I want to try to hit our marks as much as we can, but we have a very important job and responsibility. And a lot of times our conversations do last a little bit longer. So please don't mark me down as the chair that always goes over time, but I'm trying to keep us within those time frames. But we always have a lot, especially when I meet with Fabio and then we go through our agenda. So I really try to get it all in and make sure we have time to talk about it. So please forgive me when we do go over. So I'll leave that with any commissioners have anything they would like to say or leave us with before we punch out here.
Well, just is that project an example of something that the HRC could be involved with in some way?
You talking about the one that Fabio is working on?
Yeah, like is that something?
We could have a subgroup for it. Melissa, what do you think?
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, this has actually been shared with WeCU already, and WeCU broke up in separate committees, and I believe it was Jackie and Vanitha who reviewed those documents. So I just wanted to share that has been.
Okay, well, I probably missed that one.
I am behind, I'm sorry, the follow-up. So yeah, I'm happy to review it again. So.
Okay, great. That's great. So Melissa, we'll work with you on trying to get a little subcommittee on how we can add to this, the historical aspect of it to make it more of a well-rounded packet. And Fabio, please, I would love for you to join us if you can on that discussion because you've done a lot of work with this.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and the other item I had was on the naming policy. I don't know where that is. I'm sorry, I don't have any context for that. So I'll have to review the big document that you shared, Melissa. And probably at WeCU we can discuss this.
Okay. And again, before we close out, welcome, Commissioner Ward. Look forward to working with you. You're doing amazing work. You've already hit the ground running. So impressive, very impressive with what you bring to the table. And thank you so much and look forward to our continued working together. So welcome, 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 Commissioner Ward. Great things coming from you. And we have nothing else to discuss. We are closing out, give you a minute back of your life. So we're closing out at 7:59. Thank you, Fabio, and thank you, Melissa, for all your hard work.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.